for tuning in to Bass Yak Productions. This is Damien. I appreciate you stopping by. Today we're going to talk about a braided fishing line, a few tips, a little information on why braid is such a good line to use, how to make it economical. I know a lot of people probably shy away from braid because it's fairly expensive compared to something like a monofilament or even fluorocarbon, and we'll get into that. First off, generally I use just the base Power Pro. I use 3 different line weights. I use the 50, which is a 12-pound equivalent. I use the 30, which is an 8-pound equivalent, and I use 20, which is a 6-pound equivalent. I use moss green for everything except for my weightless soft plastic and my Texas rigged, worms and jigs and such, where seeing line movement is critical. And if I need to see that line movement, I go ahead and I get the high vis yellow. Braid can become very economical. I generally will spool my reel, such as this one, about 10 to 15% full of a cheap mono, 8, 10, 12 pound test. From there, I will tie the braid and spool the rest of the reel with braid. So you're talking about 90 yards, 100 yards of braid. I generally don't fish braid directly tied to my hook or lure. With that, I always use, or almost always use, a fluorocarbon leader. With fluorocarbon, I use Cigar Red Label. It's inexpensive. It's been really good. The knot that I use is the uni to uni knot. That's the knot that I tie my main line to my leader. And using that fluorocarbon leader allows me to do 2 things. Fluorocarbon is much less expensive. So because I'm using fluorocarbon, I'm tying my my lures to that. It allows me to use that 6 foot as waste as I cut and retie, cut and retie, cut and retie. I can continue to work on up that leader until I've only got a foot or 2 left. Then I can cut that off and tie another leader, and that way 6, 8 lure changes or more, and I haven't cut my braid. So that $30 or $40 you spend on that spool of braid, you're only making 1 cut to it every 7, 8, 10 lures that you change. When I'm finished with that, I turn my reel around and I'll spool one reel to the other, and you've got new braid on top that hasn't been used and the old stuff's on the bottom. So you can really save some money like that. The only occasions that I go away from using fluorocarbon would be if I'm fishing topwater. I'll go with a monofilament, generally 15 to 17 pound test monofilament, because it doesn't sink, especially on things like a Zara spook or something that needs to walk the dog, or you're imparting topwater action to it and you don't want it to nose down. The only other time, there's a couple of other times that I'll tie straight braid and use no leader at all. Oftentimes that's going to be at night fishing, especially topwater night fishing, where I have a chance to land in a tree. I can get my lure back if I have that errant cast that hits the tree. And also down here where I fish in Virginia, we have landlocked striper, and you have a very good chance of catching a 15 or 20 pound striper at night. So having straight braid, that 50-pound straight braid, you've got a great chance to bring it in. The other time that I'll do it is if I'm fishing an Alabama rig, because I want to be able to get that Alabama rig back. Thanks for watching my video. This is Damien for Bass Yak Productions. Hope that you guys all give braid a chance. If you haven't already, hopefully some of my tips will help you out in the future to catch that big one.